Great to meet
Oh,
you.
good. Good to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. I'm looking forward to getting into your world of music. And before we do, I want to know, how did you survive the pandemic? I know we're all getting fatigued by talking about it, but it was such a big deal for artists. How did you get through that time period, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
That's a great question, actually. I think it's cool because it kind of changed my creativity a little bit. I wonder if you've even gotten that answer before
Yeah,
from people.
yeah,
Yeah, well, if it weren't for all that downtime, that forced downtime, I may not have made choices on arrangements of songs that I later put on two albums and turned out to kind of like be received really well, and I was always afraid to do it. Uh, I namely, I did an arrangement of The Marriage of Figaro and put it on my
yeah,
standard album. And then the other one was MacArthur Park. They were ones I always thought were just a little too silly, even though I liked them.
yeah,
But little did I realize people agreed.
yeah.
And so that was helpful. It got, I moved to Austin not because of the pandemic and kind of was gonna move here anyway. But I'll say this, it's a lot easier to pack up a house when you're not on tour all the time.
Yeah.
So the transition was, believe it or not, easier than it might have been had there been utter touring chaos going on before that. But yeah, it shifts your perspective, makes you remember like life is short and seize the day and every day's a gift. And it was fun for my husband and I to spend a lot of time together actually. And
Yeah,
it was awful and a lot of good came out of it.
for sure. Well said.
Hmm.
So talk to me a little bit about the new album, um, the bigger than the average band.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about, what were the artistic forces that went into this project?
I have been a trombone player since I was 12 years old,
Hmm.
and I was a singer before that. And when I first started playing the trombone, the first exposure I had to horn music was big band music. I was fortunate enough to have a fantastic middle school band director who started us in jazz band early, had us exposed to Count Basie, had us exposed to the Buddy Rich band, very, very early on. And hearing that collective 15 horns, 20 piece band sound was in my ears very early on as a kid. I never imagined I could really make a big band album especially when I first got started becoming an artist, because, well, quite frankly, it's very expensive to just bring a quartet on the road. So the thought of having quadruple the people didn't seem possible for me. But thankfully, over the years, I've been able to build enough to have the support to achieve something like this and have the way to achieve something like this. And it's kind of a dream come true because it's something I've liked ever since I was young. My dad was a jazz musician. He was always playing horns in my ears. Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and then all the jazz groups like Thelonious Monk and Monty Alexander and but lots and lots of big bands. Stan Kenton was always playing for me. So in one way, it was this Herculean effort that I never thought I could do. And then in another way, it's a complete no-brainer. Um, I've been going around to colleges and high schools the past several years, uh, working with the students. And by and large, these are in big band format. I'll go to a college or I'll go to a high school. They will have a big band at the school. I've been getting big band charts written in order to go and do these gigs because they'll have a concert. I'll sing with them and we'll do the repertoire, but I had to make the repertoire tailored to them. So over the years, I've built this big band book, but I never had an album for it until now. And I believe I mean, people think of album cycles and like you release an album, you do a tour. That's not what this is. I'm releasing an album and I'm going to use it for the next several decades, I hope. And that that's been a major part of this.
So why the trombone? What was the impulsion to pick up that instrument and make that your life?
My dad was a trumpet player and I was 12, so there was no way I was going to play trumpet.
Yep.
Um, he was a band director. He brought home a few. I wanted to join the band. All my friends were in band. I was in like the smart kids classes, and turns out they were all in band, and I wasn't. I had been not in school. I had been missing a lot of school to do musical theater, and I kind of got too old for some child roles. I stopped for a while, stopped the doing that, went back to school full time, and all my friends were in the band, and I felt left out. So the solution as a 12-year-old is obviously to join the band. When it was time to join the band director asked my mom, who was the choir director at my school, another reason why I wasn't in choir. And she said to him, you know, she can read music, she just doesn't play an instrument. And he goes, "Oh, really?" Because they all started in the sixth grade. Now we're in the seventh, or they all started in the fifth grade. Now we're in the seventh grade. She has a lot to make up for. I could read music, so that helped. I just didn't have an instrument to play.
Yeah.
And the band director, I recall, he has a different story to this day, I think, but I think he's wrong. I recall him saying to me, "Please don't pick the flute. Please don't pick a high woodwind. I have too many of those." And my dad, who worked at a different school, he brought over a bunch of instruments. I tried them all, and I could make a sound on the trombone that day.
Yeah.
So that's satisfying. And I had a frame of reference. I had watched Chicago and James Brown, and I knew what the trombone could do. And again, I could make a sound on the thing. So that's what I picked. And the rest is history.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
The Manhattan Transfer when I was a little kid, very little, 7,
Wow.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came to Seattle and did one of their final tours. Not only did they sound perfect, they had amazing production value. It was a really dazzling show.
I just interviewed Janice about their final show at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
Wild,
Good.
you know?
Wow.
Just the emotion and everything. I mean, whenever you
Hmm.
see a machine like
Yeah.
that come to a close, it's like it's
Yeah.
wild. So,
They're the gold standard. They've worked really hard. I appreciate them.
yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what is it that gets you up every day? What do you like the best about being a professional musician?
Oh, goodness. They're, I feel now, I'm so grateful for this. I feel like now I have some people who are depending on me,
Yeah.
especially lately that I'm seeing more young students. And that even if I'm not going to a school, I'm the vast majority of the time I'm just doing shows at theaters and jazz clubs and stuff. But since I've gone to many schools, the thing that really gets me after the show is over and I go to the lobby to sign CDs and say hi, without fail, there are people under 18 coming up and saying, "I play the trombone because of you. I'm a singer. I'm in the band. I'm starting to lead my little small group. I'm really excited to be here." And the parents are thanking me. And I can't say I saw that coming. And that's what makes all the travel worth it. That's what makes all the hard work, you know, doing the books, doing the spreadsheets, paying the band, MDing the shows. I mean, all the non-music stuff, the music that we do. That's what makes it all really worth it. The music itself is obviously a huge reward, and also the fact I get to play with some of the best musicians in the world, even here in Austin. I mean, especially here in Austin. What a wealth of jazz artists there are here. The music is the reward because, as you know, there's a lot involved in being an artist that isn't musical.
Yeah.
But really, the young people saying, I love this show. I'm fired." That's what gets me up in the morning to do it.
So, what is it that you've learned from the elders and the legends and luminaries that you've been around that you in turn impart and give to the younger generation, the younger players around you?
I've gotten the chance to tour with Dave Cause a bit. He's a smooth jazz saxophone player.
Yeah.
Something he does very well that I always took for granted and is still a challenge for me is that he is the epitome of collaboration. He invites other artists that are his peers or younger people and older legends. He has his cruise ship with all the artists on it. He has his shows that are always collaborative. That's something I take away from, I consider him, like an Uncle Dave. That's something I will take with me, the value of that. Because the more of us that are doing well, that bring others along into our space, the more of us do well. Yeah. It feeds off each other. I take that from him too. And then the older generation of players that I've gotten the chance to rub shoulders with or never got the chance to meet, because they passed before I even had the chance. There is a sense of joy to my favorite artists of all time. Ray Charles, Al Jarreau. There's a sense of, I was born to sing these songs and that's what I'm going to do. And even though this life is a little bit of a rough go, I get to sing these songs and it makes people happy. Of course, they're highly skilled and they practice and they did all their homework, blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, it's not something that you have to retire from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through seasons of life.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Time machine pulls up in front of your house when we get off this call. You can go anywhere in the history of time and see one show. Where are you going?
That's easy. Sinatra at the Sands.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's the inspiration for the big band album.
Okay.
And as well, and we're doing a live stream show. We did on November 1st. I don't know when this is being released, but the day the album comes out, there's a live stream show on my Bandcamp, and that's hopefully my little homage.
Yeah.
No cigars, no martinis, but
right.
You can grab one yourself.
That's right. You totally can. So why do you love jazz?
It took me a while to say I loved jazz.
Yeah.
I know that's a little strange. I always studied it. I like it because it feels good. Mm-hmm. And because it also means as an artist, I used to disdain the fact that I was called a jazz artist because don't put me in a box. I write Carole King pop songs and Billy Joel-ish pop songs. Well, yeah. But when you say, especially nowadays, if you say you're a jazz artist, what that means is you can do whatever you want to do genre-wise, because it's all jazz. Spyro Gyra is jazz, and so is Cole Porter, but they sound nothing alike.
Yeah. That's
freedom artistically in this weird genre-ish world we're in that's everything in a box. It's kind of, it means freedom to me, musically and artistically, quite frankly. Now, if we're going to get more specific and like what kind of jazz, I really like to swing. I really like groove. I really like funk. I like shuffles. I like things that fit in a rhythmic box with some freedom within. I like the simple structure. I'm not the one playing cerebral, jam session jazz most of the time. I'm not playing avant-garde jazz. I'm playing showbiz jazz. But I think it feels good. Yeah. And I think music is supposed to feel good.
Yeah, for sure. So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Hopefully an entertainer with excellence. Hopefully that's what it is. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make great music that is well done and really, really high level. But I'm not trying to go over anybody's head. I'm really not.
Yeah.
I'm trying to have a good time. I'm aiming that everyone has a good time and feels something and relates to it, even though they might not be able to do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what are you hoping everybody gets, all of the fans that buy this new album? What do you hope they get? Or stream it, however they listen to it. What do you hope they get from it?
I hope they listen to it in their car and they slap their leg constantly going, oh, that was great. I hope they rewind parts. I hope they Yeah, I hope they listen to that one favorite of theirs over and over again. I hope they find the little gems in it.
So if
Yeah.
any, so if anyone wants to pick up a copy of the album, catch you live,
Mhm.
any of the good business in your world, where can they go?
Everything you need to know is at aubreylogan.com, AUBREYLOGAN.com. That will take you to Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The album itself is the first thing you'll see. The live stream concert access will be there. The store with signed, you can click store if you want a signed vinyl, signed CD if you're into that. And of course, it'll take you to Spotify. It'll take you Apple Music. It'll take you every. But if you're, you know, a Spotify listener, an Apple Music listener, just search me.
Okay. Aubrey, this
Yeah.
has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you so
Thank you
much.
for your story.
My
Best of
pleasure.
luck with the release.
Awesome.